Wherever you are right now, I hope you've taken a pen and a paper. Yes, because we're about to talk to the CEO of Kenyan Parliamentarians Association. And the conversation is around the scramble for office versus delivery. And do youthful legislators have the spine? Well, karibu sana Anthony Buluma. How are you doing? A very good morning to you. And we'll start by asking you that question. As you say, good morning. First of all, habari yako?
Mzuri sana.
It's been, this is the second time you're here now.
Actually, my first time.
Really?
Yeah. I missed our last time.
We didn't host you before?
Not quite. Probably in a different setup.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Karibu sana.
But it's good to be here.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Mimi niko salama. Yeah.
Na mzee wa nguvu pale.
Wajua jamaa side gig yake is a prophet. Yes. Watu wengi hawajui.
Umesema mimi ni prophet.
Wewe ni prophet.
So
when he says ulikuwa umeonekana before, he's talking about the future. It means utarudi.
But you know, we are all prophets, funny enough.
Yeah.
Our origin is prophetic because we existed before we exist. So sometimes our thoughts run before our actions.
Tutamuuliza huyu jamaa nyuma ya tent kanisa gani anaenda, sio?
Si anaweza tuambia tu sasa unaendanga kanisa lakini.
Wewe mazao usijibu swali, hiyo utajibu.
Naendanga kanisa lakini si kanisa gani.
Nonetheless, tunakukaribisha huku kwetu.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Yeah.
Swali, youthful legislators, do they have the spine?
Yeah, they do. First of all, thank you for having me. And just to point out that I'm very privileged to be the CEO of 60 young members of parliament in this current parliament. This number has been going up since 2013, save for the parliament of the 60s when Kenya gained independence.
Yes.
That's the only time Kenya witnessed a situation where you had a significant number of young leaders elected into office. Over those, since the 63 all the way up to 2013, we've never had young parliamentarians. We've had young in the context of 45 and above. In fact, it's only in 205 that you had a few.
45 is considered young.
As at 205. I'm taking you through a journey.
Meaning comparatively,
yes.
Yes.
So as at 205, there were just a handful of them. But 2013 witnessed a significant increase in that number. We had 37. Because of the 37 doing what they were supposed to do, we've had we increased to 47, and now we are at 60. Because I've been CEO since 2014.
Right.
And the reason why I would say that is because of exactly the question you're asking. Do they have the spine? A good chunk of them have the spine. And I'll put context to my response.
Okay.
Recently, just last year, we had an occasion to host the President of Kenya when we were launching our strategic plan. I think it's the first time a president attends to officiate the launch of a strategic plan for a parliamentary caucus, because we are a caucus in parliament.
Okay.
And in his remarks, and I think it's out here, one of the things that he picked out was he singled out some of my members and called them out because they had texted him, challenging him about, different positions, policy propositions that he had given. And so he called them out and he was like, good people, like he likes saying, when your principles conflict with your party position, what would you do?
When your personal principles
conflict with your party position, what would you do? So his guidance was abandon your principle, go for your party position. That was before the finance bill.
Yeah.
Guess what happened?
Sorry, he said abandon what?
Your personal principles, go with the party
position. It's on record. It's not something I'm making up.
I just wanted to understand.
You're trying to absorb that information.
I'm absorbing it and then I'm going to think of what the logic behind it. But please continue.
So what I'm driving at is just to demonstrate the spine in the young parliamentarians. We launched our strategic plan just before the finance bill was voted in or voted out, whichever. But a good chunk of the members who attended that launch and heard him say that and belonged to his party went on and defied. They abandoned the party position, went with their personal principles and what the people were saying. I think that's the spine you're asking. And that's the spine that is well engraved in most of the young parliamentarians. They walk into a space where you had aspirations, you had, your own fantasy, your own worldview. But when you get there now, you begin to encounter realities. There's something called party hierarchies, you know, the who's the owner of the party, what is the position of this owner. Those realities dawn on you. So you need spines for you to actually defy the odds. And we have seen young parliamentarians demonstrate a great deal of leadership over the last 2 parliaments that has provided some sort of Solomonic point of view in leadership. So I would straightforward say that they have the spine. They have what it takes.
Yes.
They have been exposed. Technology is our advantage because we have lived in an age that most of the senior politicians have not.
Yes.
You know, we work and interact with Kenyans through technology every other day. So they get to pick the pulse of the country firsthand, unlike their predecessors. So I think these are some of the things that actually build up on their spine for them to be able to pull through. When it comes to delivery, I think the rankings are out here. Top 5, top 10, predominantly young members of parliament. I think they're getting the script right. They're understanding the assignment, and most of them are actually delivering.
Yeah.
Even when you talk about CDF management, and I'm not saying this just to praise them, but just to basically put up a case for young Kenyans. I think young Kenyans are coming out because they feel disappointed with the leadership that we've been inheriting over the years, and most of them are saying, why don't you give us a chance? Because our worldview could be different. You know, they say insanity is repeating the same thing and hoping for different results. Young people are saying we've been repeating the same thing. If you notice during the protest, what kept coming up was our parents are the ones who brought us to the quagmire we are in. So next election, we will actually be even, you know, taking away their IDs because we don't want to repeat a mistake. So I'm putting up a case for young Kenyans because I have witnessed firsthand when given an opportunity for leadership what they can do, despite the drama and of course the age factors. You know, so many things come into play, but the bigger picture is that young people are proving themselves. Yeah.
What is the age of the youngest MP right now?
20. By now she's 27.
Okay.
Yeah. That should be Njeri Maina,
okay,
the women rep for Kirinyaga. Yeah.
So these young parliamentarians, as you said, they present a different worldview. How are the older parliamentarians taking that? Are they accepting it? Are they resisting it? How are they taking it?
Of course, there's resistance across the age brackets. I wouldn't say that it's just the older parliamentarians or the young. Politics is a space of competition. It's a contest of ideas, ideologies, and what have you. So that is always there. You know, when you present a new way of thinking, you'd always be confronted with resistance.
Yeah.
And that's normal. And then there's also the question of the political culture we are in. You know, there are people you're walking in, you're trying to give ideas, and they're like, Chief, you're just a newbie. You don't understand how these things are done. Relax. You know, there's the question of ranking members in parliament.
Yeah.
So you just came in the other day and you feel like you can teach us new tricks, you know. So those resistance are there. But I'm also proud of how the young parliamentarians are actually doing it. You can actually pick that by the example I just gave of what the president actually said. They had the option of conforming. You know, when a president pronounces himself in your presence and calls your name, and it's like, Chief, this is the position, this is how it works. And you know, by that time, he had given them an account of his history in leadership and what has worked for him and what never worked for him. And then he qualifies it with that statement. I mean, you'd easily be obligated to bow to what he says.
Why would you be obligated?
Because somebody has just given you the political history.
That's his life path, yes.
Correct. And that's why I'm saying it would have been a temptation easily for young parliamentarians to fall for, but they opted not to. And that's why I'm saying the spine is there. It's just pushing it.
I want us to talk about this spine that you speak of. Do these young parliamentarians belong to political parties?
Correct.
Okay. The political parties we have in Kenya, do they have any ideologies?
I think some do, some don't.
Which ones have? Like which one?
Like ideally, ODM's ideology was centered around Raila. and his philosophical.
That's not an ideology.
It's debatable.
It's not. You see, political parties as we know them are, should we say, they form themselves around a certain framework of what it is that they believe in with regards to how it is they hope to manage a country should they gain power. And they have many descriptions. You could social democrat, capitalist democrat, whatever, liberal whatever it is you want to call it. And then they have structures which explain how it is they want to go about it. Some will favor big government, a presence in everything that one does. Some will be middle of the road. Some will prefer free enterprise or capitalism as we know it and give it precedence over everything. That's the question I'm asking. Do our political parties have such frameworks that they make statements and call them ideologies? A statement is not an ideology. Yes. Do we have political parties in this country that have ideologies that you can say, you know, these fellows stand for this? Because they all say more or less the same thing. They all talk about change. They all talk about development. And right now, when you have an election round the corner, they all spend their time telling us what this government hasn't done, as though we don't live in this country. we live here, so we know. Yes.
But some, going by your definition, for example, when Ngilu was in charge of SDP, that was Social Democratic, I think, Progress of People's Party. It's a name, yes. But that, if we were to go with your definition, then Ngilu was a social democrat.
No, she wasn't.
I'm just saying that if we go by that definition that you've just given
so
us.
If then we are members of ODM,
LDP walikuwa
orange. I mean, come on, man.
Ngoja kidogo.
Yes.
LDP ilikuanga Liberal Democratic Party. Na si LDP ilikuanga ya Raila back in the day before ikue ODM. Before, I mean, afunguzi zingine zikakuja kwa ODM. So if we were to go by that and we go by Railaism, would probably say that Railaism is Liberal Democratism.
That's what we call conjecture.
Yes.
I am asking about principles that then follow these formations.
So whether they have principles or not, it perhaps is the question.
Yeah.
You see, no, it isn't. The parties that were referred to by the names that these were referred to existed in the West. Social Democratic Party, Liberal Party, they existed. And there was a philosophy behind that particular naming. And you understood it in the way they went about their business. Okay, there's a reason why I'm asking this question. When you have young parliamentarians and you look at the situation that we find ourselves in this country, we look at the economic situations and you look at the older leadership and the way they keep running around chasing their tails. When young people belong to political parties and they have a spine, how does that spine work for them when it comes to formulating and changing? Because these young people are educated. They are knowledgeable. They are not just your run-of-the-mill mwananchi. They know things. They've gone to school. Does this spine manifest itself in how it is they work within the parties to make these parties organs that can actually genuinely bring about change? Not talk about how to get elected, because that's what our political parties do.
I quite agree, and I concede that we have a challenge as a country when it comes to the question of, manifesting political ideologies. I mean, we talk about it casually on the roads when you're doing campaigns, but nothing born out of principle. And unfortunately, when you get into the political space, because I was an aspirant last election, you walk into a space that is already defined. So the rules are there, everything looks very clear. And you are interacting with a populace that also dances to that particular tune. So it's a challenge that has been there, but maybe just to give a heads up, I think in confidence, so to speak, quite a lot is happening behind the curtains. Young people have realized the trap they are in, and many of them are beginning to think otherwise, like if it means creating your own vehicle that is deeply rooted with an ideology that is well entrenched. Those are conversations that are ongoing, and I would tell you, by next election, it will be a significant battle between the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things. And the new way would have what you're talking about. What is the ideology that defines us, Because if you hear most of these young parliamentarians, they will tell you, my members, they will tell you that the tragedy we are in is we walk into this space, we really have our own way of thinking, but we are compelled, by the old guard. You have to toe the line. Towing the line means that you have to play by our rules, which are not ideologically grounded, but they have realized the mistakes. So the correcting those mistakes means the brothers and sisters who are behind us must not fall into the same trap. So we're going to create our own vehicles that are deeply ideologically entrenched. And then we will invite young Kenyans, because they have already shown interest in, new way of doing things, to be part and parcel of that journey. And then hopefully we will begin to cultivate a positive culture of transforming this country that is ideologically entrenched. That's my hope.
Anthony, look at how it is in this country when political leadership have not followed what is considered the norm. Individuals, the beneficial changes that we've seen. If you look at the independence of African nations, there are some who took a very adversarial attitude towards the colonial masters. All right? And somehow they kept fighting even after they got independence. Jomo Kenyatta famously said, "We will forgive, but we will not forget." There was an accommodation, meaning a transition period then was ushered in, where Africans who were learned, educated, could take over jobs from people who had been doing them before. That transition has helped enormously. Let's fast forward this thing to the handshake at independence, KANU KADU. Unusual, but it morphed into something negative later on, because KANU then became, in all manner of descriptions, a dictatorship that was what it was. But the unusual thing that then happened, we had a president called Moi who seemed to have been willing to change, something that very many of his ilk on this continent didn't, and some literally died on the job. You fast track it now to situations in 2008. All right, I've moved forward, but I'm going to go back, and you find a situation where the country is actually tearing itself apart. Two individuals who represent the protagonists go to The Hague. They do something that wasn't anticipated. Now, this is where the unusual nature of things happen, and they shake hands. They end up in the most unlikely positions. One is president, one is the deputy. Unlikely, because one couldn't say these were indicted. Essentially, you're saying we voted for criminals, but they were set free, so they're not really criminals, but they were before they were set free. Then you look at the Orange Democratic Party. Before it was, you had NDP. NDP was formed when the person who now formed Orange Democratic Party left a certain party that was there. It was called Ford Kenya. He left. He was to leave other associations later. He came into an understanding with Kibaki. He left. I'm simply saying there are things in the intervening time that may not be pleasant, but the outcomes that we see that have made this country appear and in reality is progressive is people doing unusual things, not following a certain script that has been followed before. And given the power in terms of numbers that your generation has, they have no excuse.
Yeah, that's true.
The language you speak will be understood by the people of your generation much easier than the language I speak. And so if there was a time for change, it is now, because that language you speak, they'll get you. You will say it, they'll understand. I have this challenge for young parliamentarians. It has something to do with something very small. It's called campaign funding. Do the young parliamentarians understand that what we have entrenched with regards to our politics and money is what is actually killing us? And that is something we must move away from. Are they willing to move away from that culture?
Yes, they are. I mean, we have quite a number over the years who've been elected against all odds. You know, Salasia, if you know Salasia was, for lack of a better phrase, a broke
Kenyan
individual. Yeah, you know, he didn't have all that would actually get him. Yeah, he didn't have money, but he understood the space he was in and literally leveraged on all the other advantages he had. He had the advantage of time and energy, you know, to move around Mumias East day and night, you know, interacting with voters one-on-one for them to get him elected. And before Salasia, we had the likes of John Paul Mwirigi, who's now serving his second term. We had the likes of Kinoti Gatobu, a young Kenyan who had no opportunity in terms of finances, but had just graduated from the university. So he opted not to dwell on what I don't have, but what he was blessed with, and that was education. And he went back to his constituency in Buri, and he started offering free tuition to young kids.
Yes.
And as a result, the parents of those kids rewarded him.
He took it. He did one even better.
Yes.
He took, these past examination papers that people had. Okay?
Collect them.
He collected, read them, and made sure that people got hold of them. The results of the children was something that parents appreciated.
Yes. And they said now there is leadership.
Yes.
So the young parliamentarians are actually willing to, go against those odds and basically prove to Kenya that we can have a leadership that is devoid of manipulation because of finances. And I agree with you. That's a tragedy we have as a country, because when you get into power, if all you used was finances to get you there, not ideas, not anything, then all you're going to do is business. You'll be transactional. You'll be a transactional leader. When you're called upon and told, climb down on this, there's an incentive, you'll do exactly that. But one of the reasons why also a good chunk of these young parliamentarians are defiant is because there were a good chunk of them that made into parliament they didn't make it on the account of, somebody's money or anything like that. Look at the likes of Babu Owino. Why are Kenyans listening to him as at now? It's because he defied. There are things he opted not to follow. Out of principle, he said, we were elected into opposition, so you'll not see me take sides with government. My opinion would be contrary, out of objectivity. And he stood by that. And he's a young member of parliament.
Is it not possible?
Mukunji of Embu.
Yeah.
Elected on a government ticket,
yes.
As MP for Manyata. He hosted the president last year because he's my chair.
Yeah.
Days later, he goes and says, my people do not quite agree with your position on the finance bill. And he was actually vindicated when the Kenyans went out to the street. And he said, after my interaction with them, they told me they do not agree with this position. So I will vote based on their interest. So it means that there's a new crop of leadership that is coming up that needs to be given airtime.
Yes.
That needs to be given platforms for Kenyans to interact with this new way of doing things. Because again, the problem we are in sometimes is the people, again, the citizens. It's not always about the leaders, because it's also the leaders supply the demands of the citizens. So if the citizens keep demanding, you just need to give us handouts, you just need to give us this. So sometimes it becomes a leadership tragedy.
Anthony, no. Then
I don't know how many, whether you've participated in a campaign, because I did, and I'm being very honest with you. When I walked in there, Nambale constituency,
that's
my
where
thoughts were, that's where I was contesting. My thoughts were very fresh. In fact, in many occasions, I would get feedback from the people saying, you talk so well, but let's give you next time. I asked them why. It's because at some point, you're not greasing. You're not greasing, because me, I would walk into
by greasing you mean wapati chai
or sort.
He's not lubricating the system.
Me, I have no problem with that. When I have, I bless, because like I said, I'm a Christian. So my giving is not entirely to bribe you, but to you've walked into my space, you're saying probably maybe kidogo pale nyumbani hakuna kanyama. So nasema ile iko tugawane. But I kept making my point clear that please don't stop at the point of nyama. In fact, my campaign was centered around two school of thinking. I told them where politics ends, leadership must begin. Because politics is a season. Or I actually relate politics to the campaign season. When you're going around, having to pull whatever drama. But after you've elected somebody into office, the next question that begs is, did you elect a leader or a politician? If you elected a politician, their next obsession is, how do I get myself re-elected? If you elected a leader, their next obsession is, how do I deliver? How do I deliver for the next generation? That's why they say politicians look out for the next election. Yes. Leaders look out for the next generation. And I really try to bring that out so that our people are able to distinguish between leadership and politics.
There's a question I have, and it is because of something you said a few sentences back. You said that there are some individuals, like for example, you said Babu Owino alisema haizi kwa serikali because he was elected into opposition. So my question is it not possible to be in government but still disagree with some of the things that the government that you serve is doing.
It is, and it doesn't mean that when you're in the opposition you're not in government. You're a member of parliament serving in one arm of government.
Okay.
But there's a context here. The context is Kenyans in their own wisdom decided to elect in a majority a government into office to execute policies within the executive, but equally elected a minority that forms now the opposition in parliament that should ideally be the people's watchdog, manifesting more of the oversight role of parliament than conforming to what the executive wants. So if you were elected in this platform, is because Kenyans felt like you'd fit in better there. Okay. And I think that's what Kinababu are trying to say, that why would we be dining and whining with government when we should actually be calling them out for things they're not getting right.
Okay.
So out of principle, he said, okay, I would rather not be counted as part of the government in the context of the executive, but stay. Okay. But if you look at the older colleagues, they're already swimming in that, in the sea of opportunities.
But Anthony, since we're discussing politics and politicians and political parties, there are things which political parties do. There are certain positions they take because it's strategic. There are certain things that are said by certain politicians. Let me take you back to a time when I was a young man. No, sorry, I was a younger man. And...
yeah, you're still a young man.
No, I'm definitely not young. I'm youthful, but I'm not young. Yes, there's a difference. President Moi had two people with whom he, should we say, performed certain litmus tests on the country. One of them was the father of the current governor of Mombasa. His name was Sharif Nasser. There's a guy called Njinu. These are people who had certain positions. In Luo Nyanza, there's a guy called Okiki Amayo. These people were characterized by some fairly startling statements they used to make from time to time. Like Sharif once said that, his problem is there's too much freedom in Kenya. And you're wondering, what exactly do you mean there's too much freedom? Others would come up with things, but with hindsight, I didn't understand it then. They were testing the waters. When you say this, how do people respond? If you have a party like ODM, whose leader has stayed on top of this game that we refer to as politics because he understood the thinking of the Mwananchi and he aligned himself with it, and they aligned themselves with him. This is what I would say. In a situation where you have an understanding with the government that is clearly not very popular with very many people, okay? Would you then not have the same setup where you have people who perform a litmus test? Because in all honesty, it is Raila Odinga and the party that created Babu Owino. He's a creature of that particular party. He's not doing something that his party leader had not done in a previous life. So when we discuss politics, sometimes there has to be this alternative of what really has been going on here. This is my position. Because I find Sifuna standing up and saying something almost similar to Babu's. And the others were saying, this guy, remove him. The late Raila Odinga has passed on. Suddenly, the acting leader of the party is saying, see what Sifuna is saying is fine. So, I have to ask, what exactly are these people playing at? I have to ask that question. Because it seems orchestrated to me, if you ask me. Baba goes to Western and says, Sifuna is
the SG
of yes, and he speaks for the party. You can't interpret that thing in two ways. There's only one interpretation. And then Baba goes to South Nyanza and says, we are in this association until 2027. Now, you see, those is yes, but he didn't talk about beyond 2027. These are political discussions. And political discussions must be looked at in the light that they are political discussions about the young people, and about the spine that they have. Do they have the spine to actually understand the drastic and the very revolutionary change they must have in their thinking? Many seem to be heading that direction. What do I mean? Theft among civil servants who probably are aspiring to be politicians. Enabling theft when it manifests in the way we do businesses like building roads and so forth. Many of these things have a political end. Somebody is trying to accumulate a war chest so they can pursue a career in politics. Partly just to accumulate a lot of money, but also to protect that wealth once they've got it. If this is something I want to put across to you, do you think that if with one voice all these young parliamentarians said, look, we may risk losing the next election, but we are going to fight against this culture of dishing out money, and they speak with one voice? I focus on this because it gives a sitting member of parliament power. When the public no longer want your money, it disempowers you. You are then forced to talk about things which are more important. Do you think, I'm giving this as an example, that these young parliamentarians have the spine to actually think in a revolutionary way as to how we can change the political culture that we have?
I think I've quite answered that, because I've demonstrated to you how they have defied the norms. And it's not a very easy place to be. Like you correctly said, you know, sometimes when you contradict your party leader within the Kenyan context, it's tantamount to, you know, committing political suicide. That is where we are at. But despite knowing all that, the young parliamentarians in many instances have literally defied what the party hierarchies are saying. As regards to changing the political culture, because the culture that has been inherited, that one, I can tell you, it will not be over one election. We have to really, we're actually doing it for the next generation. Maybe in the next election, we must minimize on dishing out cash and, you know, manifest a lot of ideas being shared. That would actually be a step towards the right direction. And I really want to and use this opportunity to just to talk to many young Kenyans who aspire for political leadership with the hope that they will come and make money. I actually don't think you make money when you get into politics. You lose more money, if you ask me. I have seen it firsthand. I've seen politicians walk into parliament with money, walk out of parliament very broke. They camp outside the gates of parliament trying to even ask their colleagues, please give me something if you have. You know, I have also seen others who've walked into parliament without any money and walk out of that parliament and still turn to beggars. Because out here is a culture of give me more of what you have. So I would actually tell many young aspiring leaders, don't walk with the mentality I'll come and make money. I would give you an example of people who've walked into parliament without the mentality of making money, and it has worked for them. There's an MP for Mwala. He's I think the chair for Energy Committee now. He's called Vincent Musau Kawaya, popularly known as Kawaya. When he got into
he's my grandmother's MP.
Oh, excellent. And he's doing a good job, I believe, in Mwala.
I'll ask my grandmother.
He's been elected. This is his third term.
But
when
I know
he walked in, he was very young, but very talented. He's skilled when it comes to these things of software engineering. I think he had done some work for Safaricom and, you know, big companies, and made some good chunk of money. Okay. And part of it, he used it to campaign and got into office. When he got into office, he wasn't really banking on CDF and those kind of things to survive. He still went back to his hustle, but serving his people, you know. And that should be the attitude. If you really think that you will come to parliament and make so much money, you'd be shocked. Ask Kina Jalango. Every day is a phone call. Hey, chief, my kid doesn't have school fees. When I was campaigning, I will tell you, people would come outside my compound in the morning from as early as 6 a.m. So the policy in my home was you open the main gates by 6 a.m. You know, it's like vehicles are driving in, but it's people walking in. And the house is flooded, whether I'm there or not. You have to serve them tea. When I'm there, I have to hear them out one by one. You know, it's a culture that is there. I didn't even know until I contested. And then I started seeing people walk into my house very early in the morning. I'm like, I've never had so many guests coming to home. And then now my campaign team tells me, hey, boss, if you send them away, you will never get elected. So just embrace them. Yeah. So I asked them, embracing means what? Kumbe embracing means you have to hear them out. Yeah. Where money is required, dash it out. And now the problem is, If somebody comes with the intention of, Atimi, I need money for, say, for example, rim papers. You know, I didn't know rim papers are that popular until now when I was contesting. So what that means is that if I give you money for rim papers, by the time you're walking out, you've already leaked that to 3 other people. So when they come to me, they all want rim papers, even when they don't need them. So it's a bad culture, and you can't blame it on anyone. Only that we need to, you know, in a very systematic way.
Anthony, you're talking like an old man. I am allowed to talk the way you're talking about a situation.
I'm talking like the truthful man.
Why? You know why you're talking like an old man? It's because these are people like me who have entrenched this culture. Okay? I understand the culture of being hospitable. When you're an older person, even if you're educated, if you're friendly with people, they always come to see you. And they will come with their problems. People are coming to you with problems even before you declared. When you declared, now this is the point. It's like everybody felt, okay, now Anthony is going to solve our problems. The thinking I was talking about, I started with the issue of money for a simple reason. The thinking that creates structures, economic structures that enable people to be able to do what they need to do so that they don't have to come to you for all this money. That culture was built upon, if you look at how it started, I know how it started in Luo Nyanza. The government at the time had determined you couldn't hold rallies, so people would go to funerals. And Kanu had started dishing out money. There was a discussion among in fact, this political party, they would say, you know something? The term they used, it was spoken as though it was the Luo language, taxpayer. Meaning, if somebody offers you money, take it. It's your money because it's your tax money. That was the narrative. Now, this is what it has become now. How many leaders think of creating, you look at the environment that you're in, how do you go about creating something that guarantees that these people can actually make a living so that they do not need to come to you for handout? Because the culture is, the moment you declare, if I declare now and it is known I'm going home, I'll find that compound full of people. That's what I'm talking about. How do you come up with the idea so that people understand that as an MP, your job is actually this, and what you can do is actually this. But to help them with this problem, this is what you are in the process of doing. It requires thinking. Now that's the radical thinking I was talking about. It requires somebody who has the energy and the spine to bring people who are like-minded and say, guys, this problem, forget this standing. How do we solve these problems that our people have? Because it's clear they have a problem. How do we solve it? When you come up with a solution and people realize that actually a solution actually has been found. I asked a question of somebody who comes from Vihiga. Why it is, and I'm going to refer to him by name, Motichilo, who had a reputation for not giving people money, was still elected. And the guy told me, but see what he does. We do not need to. Yes. He notoriously did not give people money. Did they not elect him even as governor? I'm simply trying to say that you don't need 10 examples to show. There was something he had come to an understanding of doing. It's difficult. Now, that's the thing. It is difficult. And you also stand the chance of actually losing an election. When Raila Odinga moved out of Ford Kenya, joined NDP, and he was followed by young people, the people who remained in Luo Nyanza were people who had known Achengo Neko, people who had been in politics and were known. My friend, they wiped the floor with those old people. The time in which we live now mirrors that time. That's why I'm giving the example. If one isn't alive to that spirit of change that is upon the nation at that particular moment in time, it'll pass you by. I don't think that the problems that we keep seeing, our people are blind or deaf to. It's a question of just the leadership that will tell them this is how these problems are going to end. Because what you and I are discussing, and it will not end our problems, it will entrench them. Yes.
The flip side of what I gave as an example was, as I interacted with Kenyans and saw that side, there was also another side. And I understood where they were coming from, because they've been cheated before. So sometimes Kenyans are transactional on the account of
That
the fact that
history.
you guys lie to us, you get there, you eat our money and you disappear. So it becomes very transactional. But they can also be very rewarding. Because I met this old woman as I was moving around. So I walk into a random home and I'm talking to her and asking her for votes. And you know what she told me? She told me courteously, my son, you don't have to give me anything. If anything, I don't even want it because you've spoken well. But the only challenge I have is that I'd already promised one of your opponents that I will vote for him out of principles. And because I'm a mother, I don't want even that gift. Do you know, I was so moved that I persuaded her, please
Accept
take
this.
it because I want your blessings, even if you will not vote for me on this one. And she was kind enough and she said, okay, I'll take it as maziwa, but you go and run. I wish you well, but maybe next time come early. So there's a question of also timing. What time do you arrive when you're campaigning? And how much trust do you earn from the Kenyans? Actually, the young people who've succeeded, like Selassie, I'm told, used to camp in matangas at night, you know, joking and talking to women at night when you may camp pale, night vigil, and awambia, hey, you guys, we can actually transform Mia's, and they trusted him. Because again, the transaction comes in on the basis of trust. I cannot entirely blame the Nambale people. They had not interacted with me enough for them to trust me with that vote, you know. But the person they gave had actually vied twice before and lost. So they have seen him. They have seen, okay, this guy, when he loses, this is how he behaves. This guy, when he loses, this is how they can be able to predict. So I think the tragedy also we are in, Kenyans are not very certain and confident with the individuals who work because they've been cheated enough.
Yeah.
So maybe also to answer your question and to end this bad culture, leaders must begin to, you know, live up to the promises they make.
Yeah.
Because the tragedy we are always in is you walk in with, like, the government we are in right now. I mean, the promises that were given, are they living up to it? So when Kenyans feel cheated, you now start seeing them saying, let's be transactional. By the kama, amwezi honor your pledges, would rather be transactional.
There's a question here on YouTube. It's by Norbert Owor. Ameuliza, anasema, many young parliamentarians have not done anything substantial worth mentioning. They have demonstrated nothing but incompetence to make any impact. What would you say about that statement?
I think it's not entirely correct. Of course, we have hits, we have misses, but from where I sit, I think going by even polls that have been done, most young parliamentarians have done quite well in terms of their parliamentary work.
Yep.
I think we are amongst the caucus with the highest number of legislations. I think we are right now at around 27, sponsored by young parliamentarians. And it's not easy, even just to line up a bill in Parliament, because it's a whole process.
Yes.
When it comes to being vocal on youth issues, every other day we have statements coming up in Parliament in relation to issues of young people. These parliamentarians have also been able to open doors. Even post the Gen Z protest, we've hosted young people in Parliament like thrice and given them parliamentary experience. And over and beyond that, I feel like if you look at what's going on in the country, it's actually the young parliamentarians who are providing direction, political direction as at now.
Okay.
Especially after the departure of a very highly celebrated political figure in the name of Raila Odinga.
Okay.
Who, I think it was after some said, the late Raila Odinga, it hit me again that would we ever be saying Baba is the late?
Yeah.
But may his soul rest in eternal peace. So I think I would just invite him to interact well with the ongoings in Parliament, particularly even just the Hansard. You'll see that many young parliamentarians are not only vocal, but they're actually leading from the front.
What about those who are behaving badly? And I won't mention names because I'm avoiding a defamation suit. But there are those who we see out here behaving badly, whether it's in clubs or maybe somewhere being violent. We've seen them. Wengine wametoa bunduki, mtu amelipuliwa mahali. What are some of the things that you guys discuss, especially with some of your members who are like that or been caught up in such kinds of problems?
Those are life challenges. It's just that they're highly exposed. So sometimes you'd be able to, be caught in those situations. And it doesn't mean that when you're not a parliamentarian, you don't make those kind of mistakes. You make. So what
But you see, for a parliamentarian, that person is held to a higher standard as opposed to a random Kenyan.
As it should.
Yes.
It's true, but their lives are also scrutinized a lot more than the lives of
But brother, hii history ya kuteteanga parliamentarians mimi siwezi kubaliana nayo. Yes, you're human at the end of the day.
This is not kutetea.
No. I'm saying
it's just stating a fact.
Yeah.
That when you're in the public domain,
Yeah.
your life is in the public.
Yeah.
in the public.
And for that reason, you should be very, very, very careful.
You can only be as much careful. Let me be honest with you, because when you walk out of here, I have no control on who I meet outside.
True.
What I do,
But what you can control though is how you react to whatever scenario that you meet.
Yes. And that's why maybe from our end, what we've been trying to do, we have a program called the Leading Young. So we have assigned a life coach. It's a new concept in Kenya to our young parliamentarians, so that they assist you in, when you're doing your normal life, because sometimes leadership can take so much that you miss out on the human side of you. So when you miss out on the human side of you, what happens is that you begin to manifest all these things you're talking about. So from our end, that's what you're trying to do, just to get somebody who can be able to understand their space and provide some little guidance, because you're leading people, but there's no one leading you. So that's one of the measures we put in place. But again, we also advise them every other day, please avoid scenarios that you would jeopardize your career and your reputation. It's not easy, because they're also young people. They want to live their age. You can't stop somebody from stepping out into a night situation and enjoying themselves, because probably their age demands that now. There's also another one who's learned the hard way, so we use this one to teach this other one, and I think we should also give credit when somebody has walked a path and they have repented and said that I regret what I did. Even as a leader, I think that's the highest level of leadership, to look back and say, I got this one wrong, and I'm asking for forgiveness because I want to correct it this way.
Yeah.
So even the incidences you mentioned, I know for sure, like in the case of my SG, who's Babowino, he highly regretted that incident. And in as much as it was a mistake that was not planned entirely, he regrets, And if you look at him right now, he's not the Babu you interacted with during those days. He's literally transitioned and transformed, cut down on so many things that would have easily contributed to that. And that's the journey we want. And that's the kind of stories Kenyans want to hear.
Yeah.
Because like I've told you, the voters have been cheated enough times. So they even want to deal with... do you remember the days when Kinasonko used to even be arrested for purposes for claims of theft? And people would say, tupeni huyo mwizi wetu huku nje. Why? Because he's natural, he's real. Kama nimekosea, I'm not pretending. Other than mwingine anajificha, anajifanya the best of the best, kumbe vitu anafanya ni worse than huyu mwingine. Yeah,
true. I mean, and no one is irredeemable.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, like we said, held to a higher standard. Anthony, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for availing time. I've actually remembered why I thought I had hosted you before. You were to come here on the 24th of September.
Correct.
Yeah, something came up, you couldn't make it, but here you are.
Yeah. And maybe just a parting shot.
Sure.
I think it's Albert Einstein who said this, and I like relating with this quote, that the significant problems we face will never be solved with the same mind that caused the problem. We've been talking about higher standard. Our higher standards for leadership must demand also a higher standard for mindset shift. Because the problems we are confronting as a country would require a higher thinking. You cannot have leaders lamenting like the people, a blind man leading a blind people situation. That cannot happen. I think it's about time we have a turnaround and we have an opportunity.
Right.
Braila's exit marks the end of an era for a particular group of people.
And the beginning of another one.
Beginning of a new era for a different crop of leaders.
Right.
He fought his fight. He's gotten us up to where he could. Now, this transition must also allow Kenyans to give opportunity to new leadership. Yeah, that's my conviction.
True story. Now that you've spoken about your Secretary General, that is the Honorable Babu Owino, Mlete. tunasikia kuna kiti anataka huku Nairobi.
Yes,
akuja
yes.
tuambie rasmi. Yeah.
Tamwambia by the nikitoka hapa na mcall nimwambie apitie.
Na wale wengine pia, not just Babu, because of course you said you have how many members now? 20 something. 60.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. Kindly avail them. Let's have a conversation with them.
Correct.
All right.